because when I'm making my posters or pieces, I just kind of do it. Like I'm not sort of thinking from this regimented way of this style. What am I doing? I'll just kind of do whatever feels right. And I think just me putting that energy into it is the reason that people are attracted to it.
Hey everyone, this episode is sponsored by Hirect. Hirect is a chat-based hiring app for startups that allows you to chat straight with the boss and get hired. Hirect will accelerate the job search and hiring process by 10 times by curating candidate recommendations and offering one-on-one video chat. The best part is that the Hirect app is 100% free. So if this sounds cool to you and you want to download the app, head over to hirect.us. Once again, head over to hirect.us to download the app. Now let's get into the episode. Hey everybody, how's it going? Jesse Nyberg here. Welcome back to the podcast. Today we have on Eli, talented designer that I've been following on Instagram for a bit, always spreading good vibes and this big crazy hair, and he's ready here to talk to us today. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great, brother. How are you? Pretty
good. We were talking a little bit before, just kind of middle of the day, trying to get over the hump, getting a little bit tired, but looks like I'm glad you got all your stuff set up too. This man's a guest of the year, went and got a webcam and a mic just for the interview.
Yeah, finally pulled the trigger. Hopefully this is like an excuse for me to branch out and start doing more video content. So I'm really happy to be here. It pushed me, got the fire under my ass to get going.
I'm glad a lot of people say that because I know how hard it can be for like all these people I know that are super talented, and I feel like they'd benefit from, YouTube or streaming or some kind of video, but they're always like, I feel like all these designers and artists are just inherently so like socially awkward sometimes and nervous to get on camera. Like even recording on Instagram, I can't do it. Sometimes it's so hard.
Absolutely, yeah, and it's just so weird, like kind of putting yourself out there. I honestly think I'm a pretty social guy in person, but when I get in front of a mic, it's just a whole nother story, honestly.
Yeah, I've talked about it before. I feel like when it's super, established like this, like I have the mic, the podcast, I'm ready to go, I'm fine with that, but something like recording an Instagram story, like holding my phone out in public, like I just feel so like everyone's staring at me, even though no one cares really.
Absolutely. Yeah. I film stories all the time in public, just trying to spread some positive energy. I don't know if you've seen them, but there's a few times like old ladies will just be looking at me and I just gotta kind of keep to myself and do you ever it'll take 6-7 takes even.
Do you think that people like I would feel like since you spread like these messages and you're very like open with how you're feeling and like the things you put out, the videos and your design work, do you feel like a lot of people online have like this more established like parasocial relationship with you compared to if you were just creating random designs or whatever?
Yeah, well, I would like to think so. I'm really putting myself out there, and a lot of people have just kind of been there and really shown their growth alongside my posts, and that's been really beautiful, as well as just the engagement in the direct messages. Like after someone reposts my stuff on their story, if they're public, I'll always respond to that story and just try and start spreading some love, and just even if it's a quick message, I love you, I try and reach out to everyone and sort of build a community of love. And there's even some posts where I've tried to get people to engage with each other and share things that have helped them or share loving messages. And it's just been so beautiful because it truly does feel like a community sort of forming in which people are actually helping each other within my comments and DMs, and it's beautiful.
Yeah, that's good. And I feel like there's a few people I follow specifically on Instagram where like, and you're one of them, where I see your work on so many stories. Cause like the stuff that you do, it's like the design's dope, but like even besides that, I feel like you could write some of the stuff you write on like a white piece of paper and someone would reshare it because it's so like, it's very like relatable. And I feel like a lot of people see it and they're like, that's exactly how I'm feeling right now. gonna throw this on my story.
Man, I appreciate that. Yeah, and like I've struggled. I've been battling with depression and anxiety for years, and after doing like the daily posters in 2020, it took me like about a year until I started putting the two together, like this daily journey of trying to help myself out of depression and the daily poster journey. So it was sort of sharing things that have helped me along the way, stuff I had heard in therapy and stuff like that. Yeah. And eventually it started to become sort of my journaled thoughts, and the journaled thoughts started trying to become poetry or really cool posters that are easy to digest and where people could kind of hear them no matter where they are on a good day or a tough day, and it could still make them smile and feel a little better.
Yeah, for sure. And so like your initial idea, I guess, to start the like posters every day or like just posting these messages was kind of like a just more like thought out like version of like journaling, right? You were just kind of making a poster each day instead of that in a way.
Initially, I was just kind of pushing myself as a graphic designer, and it didn't really cross over with that personal side and like my personal passion. Yeah.
Like in the very beginning, pretty much?
Yeah, in the very beginning. I was honestly probably like 100, 120, 150 days before I started really putting myself out there. And as soon as I did, it was just really beautiful. I just started forming more connections with people, and it felt better to me, at least, putting myself out there in that sort of way.
Yeah, that's cool though, because like not only it's kind of like killing two birds with one stone, you know, like you're creating art and you're like, you know, constantly healing and like spreading good messages, because a lot of people can do one, but they're not very good at doing the other, you know?
Yeah, and I don't even think I'm the dopest artist or graphic designer or whatever. I just like putting the messages out there and putting my kind of spin on them. And if I do shit that I think is cool, then hopefully other people think it's cool, and hopefully teenagers and all kinds of people think it's cool. And if they think that's cool and it's a positive message, then I'm really just doing something that makes me feel fulfilled as an artist.
Yeah, for sure. What's kind of like your background then, just as like a graphic designer?
So I've always had Photoshop. I had a torrented version since I was like 10 on my computer, and I always played around with it. And then in school, as friends had sort of like artistic projects, whether it be album covers or posters for like a jazz band, I just kind of played around and did stuff for free for friends in high school. I ended up going to school, an art school, and taking tons of graphic design courses, and I just sort of went into it.
What school did you go to?
I go to OCAD, and I still go there. Yeah, I kind of misspoke earlier, actually. I didn't take a bunch of graphic design courses. There's only one or two, and I chose a terrible program, at least for me. So I'm in a program called Digital Futures, and it's a lot of coding based stuff and computing, physical computing, fabrication. And I've just kind of been going along with it because I have a Middle Eastern mother, but for the most part, I just gravitate towards graphic design and art and stuff like that.
Yeah, like what's weird about like universities is like so many of them like have all these different programs like that are like design and art and computer science, and some of the majors, like what they're called, is just so confusing. Like we had one that was called like mass digital media communication or something, and it's like I was like, what the fuck is this? And like I thought that was graphic design, and I get in there and it was like journalism, and I was like, all right, well that's not it. So that's probably this other one, visual communication, which is what I ended up doing. And it's like they need to simplify that shit. It just makes no sense.
Yeah. And it's also just so weird introducing yourself to people and being like, I'm in digital futures. Like, it just sounds absurd. You sound like you don't go to school at all if you're doing that.
Yeah. It sounds like you just would be working on like AI and robots and shit.
Exactly.
Like, yeah, that's a cool thing to have on your degree, though. It probably looks dope written out. Digital futures, you know?
Yeah, sounds weird out loud, looks pretty dope on paper.
Yeah. So you're almost done, or what? Or you got a year or two or something?
I have 2 years left, and I'm 20 years old.
Yeah, it's pretty good though,
in Toronto, Canada.
Your work's pretty good, and like I feel like your work's not just pretty good, it's better than a lot of people that I knew that were in the actual like graphic design proper major that we were in. So it's like, I feel like at the end of the day, it's really about like those personal projects and like growing on your own outside of school to become like a better designer. Cause even if you were in the non-digital futures and you were in like graphic design, you only know so much. Like they wouldn't be teaching you about the shit that you're doing, you know, that's your own thing that you discovered.
And honestly, I think it's kind of cool that I never really had the background, or at least educational background, in art or graphic design, because when I'm making my posters or pieces, I just kind of do it. Like I'm not sort of thinking from this regimented way of this style. What am I doing? I'll just kind of do whatever feels right. And I think just me putting that energy into it is the reason that people are attracted to it. I think it's sort of that raw feel, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I get that. I think that for me, I've finally, like within the maybe past year or two, gotten over that like regimented like kind of rules of graphic design. But I think that I am glad I knew them, but it's kind of like that thing where, oh, like, you know them, now you could break them or whatever. It's cool to know like the fundamentals, but then also be like, fuck that shit. Like I don't have to always be like in there, you know, because some people that I know, and like myself included, right after college, you're so like, I don't know, like you're very like created by whatever your professors thought, you know. It's very hard to like, you take that word as like, you know, scripture or whatever, like, oh, don't do this, like, and it's at the end of the day, some of it's objective, but most of it is just whatever your professor thought, you know. If you were the professor, everyone would be making positive posters, I feel like, you know. It's like that.
See, that'd be pretty sick. But yeah, in my experience, I never really vibed with any of the professors, like on a personal level. So I never really took it to heart too much when I hated on my stuff. I'm just there to get through it, honestly. And I just love doing all my own stuff on the side. It's where my passion is, and it's where 90% of my time and energy goes.
For sure. Yeah. Some of my students I went to school with that were like the most defiant or whatever are doing like the best now because they found their own style and voice. And like, and then on the contrary, some of the people were so scared of like defying the professor that they're kind of stuck like just doing, like they need to be told what to do in a way. Like you get trained like that. And I think you need to find a good balance, you know, of like being obviously like have knowledge and get better every day at design or art, but also don't be scared to like break rules, because at the end of the day, it's just, I mean, it's just, you know, drawing, or it's just people moving around pixels on a screen. Like it's not that serious, you know?
Yeah, that's exactly it. I couldn't agree more.
For sure. Some of the stuff that you like post on your posters, are they just kind of like, I guess, quotes and stuff that you kind of just come up with in your head, write them down in your notes or something like that? Yeah,
most of the time it's like shower thoughts, meditation thoughts, or right before I go to bed thoughts.
Yeah.
A lot of the time it's also messages that have helped me along the way. As I said, I was struggling with this shit for a while. So I do used to do a lot of reading in the space, and
write stuff down from that?
Not necessarily, but I feel like lots of what I have to say is kind of just an amalgamation of all the stuff that I've heard or been through. To.
I've seen you too on your story be like, what's some like quotes that you guys like think have helped you, or like some messages or whatever. I feel like that can be kind of inspiring for that stuff too.
I love doing that once again, just because it gets kind of people involved, and I feel like it's a really beautiful connection that could be formed, especially like when those people have seen the quotes that they sent in. They just freak out and are so happy, and it's almost like a custom design for them in a sense, but everyone gets to enjoy it.
Yeah, you must get like we were talking a little bit earlier about kind of like that relationship between like, you know, like parasocial and kind of like emotions, and if people are either struggling or happy or sad, like you must get some pretty like deep messages sometimes, I would think, for just being like a designer, you know.
Yeah, it's been I've gotten messages from people at their highest highs and lowest lows, and sometimes it could be difficult, but at the end of the day I just try and send love and light to everyone I speak to. And it could be draining at times, but I just try and not go on my phone at those times. And yeah, just try and enjoy every present moment. And if I have the energy, excuse me.
I had to burp at the same time for some reason.
If I have the energy to help someone out, though, then I'm always willing to.
Yeah. It's good, though, to like recognize that you still have to, like, you can't be trying to help everyone out if you're not feeling the best, you know. It's good to, you still gotta, like, taking care of yourself isn't inherently mean like you're disregarding them. It's just, you know, yourself you have to be loving yourself to be able to love other people, really, you know, at the end of the day.
Absolutely. And I have so many posters that say that, so if I wasn't living it myself, then I'd be a huge fraud.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like I'm sure a lot of your posters have gotten printed out, and I know, have you been thinking of doing more like prints and stuff? I was trying to take a look at your website and I was a little confused by it. I didn't know if I was supposed to sign up for it or what.
Yeah, so my website hasn't dropped yet.
Okay.
Still in the works. It's just been really freaking fun. It's super like first wave of internet. It's like crazy GIFs, and I've just been spending so much time like making GIFs, putting GIFs together, making the craziest soundtracks for the background, guest room. There's a notepad that everybody could sign, all kinds of crazy mouses, flashing logos. So it's just been the most fun project ever. I'm hoping to drop it in the next month. Also built out really good relationship with printers nearby, screen printers. So I'm going to do hopefully prints every month or bi-weekly. And I'm really excited for it.
Yeah, that's dope. That's going to be tight. Are you going to be doing like kind of the fulfillment and stuff yourself, or just have other people ship them out?
Yeah, I'm going to do all the fulfillment myself right at the beginning, and then hopefully the demand exceeds what I could do myself, and then we'll figure out some more options as they come along.
Yeah, I always live in this weird area of where like I don't want to do it myself, because in the past I've realized how like stressful it can be, but I'm so like I guess like picky or whatever about like things that I would feel bad like not being able to see it before it went out either. So it's like a weird, like you don't know where to sacrifice, you know?
Yeah, that's exactly it. And at this point I have a lot of energy, and I'm happy to go through sort of laborious stuff to make sure my stuff is exactly how I'd like it. And I'm a picky dude too, so I want to make sure everything is just perfect. So when whoever opens it, they just get to smile big.
Yeah, for sure. Are you going to be doing some of your favorite things like that you're going to print, or are you going to start just designing like for the store, basically?
Oh, no. Well, like now I'm sitting on like 400-ish designs posted on my Instagram. I have a bunch that I haven't posted as well. So I'm probably gonna do some of my favorites. They're not all necessarily production ready in terms of coloring and stuff like that. So I'll kind of play it with them as it comes around. But mostly stuff that I've printed, and hopefully more recent stuff at first, and then I'll do some old stuff and just play around with it.
For sure.
Kind of limited drop style.
Yeah, it sucks when you, like in the past, I try to make everything like print ready, even if I don't think I'm ever gonna print it, because in the past people have been like, yo, print this out, and I realized I designed it like it's only like 1,000 pixels like wide or something, and I feel like it's just way too web optimized to even look good as a print. And it's always a bummer when you're like, damn, I definitely should have started with the 300 DPI, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah, I thank God that I always use 300 DPI and just huge files. I'd rather focus on reducing them after than trying to enlarge them.
Exactly. Yeah, that's for sure. And then sometimes like I've just gotten accustomed to like, all right, every file is going to become a PSB, you know, with all these fucking textures and stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's just the smarter way to do it, because you F up enough times and you realize that it's just not worth going back and having to reorganize everything.
Yeah. I was curious too, like we were talking a little bit about, you know, you getting messages from people and like the different headspace you may be in. Do you ever, like, how do you go about creating or posting things that are like so positive if like you're not feeling up to it? Like, do you just step away at that time?
Well, it's a little bit of give and take, and I guess it's kind of different every day. But at the end of the day, most of the time I'm trying to give positive messages to myself when I'm going through it or having a tough time. So even on the bad days, like, or every day, I like to put some work in some creative capacity, and I'll work on posters or journal out a bunch of potential concepts, and those are some of the things that can actually help me and take me out of that low mood. So both the good days and the bad days, I'm kind of able to get that inspiration, at least conceptually. But I will say on the good days, it's easier to come up with the imagery and graphics and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's like some days when you're just like, I'm not necessarily like creating stuff that is supposed to make people like feel super happy or anything, but some days when I'm just making things, and if I'm feeling like burnout, it's just, you just feel like you're just moving shit around and like a puzzle forever, you know, like you're never gonna figure out what you want to do. And you just have to realize like sometimes the best thing you can do to design something is to not design anything at all, you know, and just step away from it for a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've never heard the analogy of the puzzle. I don't know if he just came up with that, but it's phenomenal, because that's exactly what it feels like. And yeah, I think it's just important to step back, and if you still feel the need to kind of push yourself in any regard, then that sort of pushing yourself could be self-care or doing something besides necessarily doing graphic design or Photoshop or whatever it is you have to work on. And like, as I said, journaling or meditating or listening to music could even help you find inspiration. So just doing stuff that could kind of be productive, but still in a comfortable and slow paced sense. Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, I've been getting like super inspired lately by just super nasty, like old hip hop one line, like punchlines. And I've just been writing them down and being like, I definitely want to make something to visualize this, you know, because when you're listening to like a good rapper, it's like that shit's like reading a book where you just start to already imagine like what something could look like to pair it with this. And it's like, I'm sure that's how people feel that make music videos and stuff like that.
Absolutely. And yeah, I love old hip hop, so I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. What kind of stuff do you do like outside of design, like just on your free time?
On my free time, honestly, I do a lot of listening to music. I've been really into just obscure international stuff lately, mostly through Action Bronson's playlists on Apple Music. Cool. But yeah, it's just all kinds of weird 70s techno and from all over the world. And I love it.
That's dope.
Spend a lot of time in nature, walking around, and just walking my dog, but try and spend at least an hour or two every day outside, as well as cooking. I'm a huge fan of cooking. I actually wanted to be a chef growing up. And it's just been yeah, like my favorite thing to do. So usually eating pretty dank ass meals for dinner and cooking for a few hours beforehand.
Yeah, that's good. It's like sometimes I get so caught up in like those days are so stressful where I feel like I just have to eat some shit that I throw in the microwave or whatever because I'm working on a client project. But like when you cook, because I've been trying to eat a little bit healthier the past few months, and when I actually like, you know, cut up the veggies and get the meat ready or whatever I'm going to eat and like prepare it, and it takes me longer than, 5 minutes to make, it actually feels like nice because not only are you like putting intention into like what you're going to eat, but also it's just an excuse to be like, you can't really be looking at your screens and shit because you're too busy like hoping this shit doesn't burn or whatever you're working on,
Absolutely. And it's just a great time to listen to music and vibe out. Like just chop those onions, got good music playing in the background. You can sort of dance around. It's a good time.
What kind of stuff do you cook a lot? Like what types of food?
I cook it all, honestly. Yeah. Recently I've been doing a lot of smoking, actually. I got a smoker last summer.
Oh shit.
Old cast iron smoker. So I did a whole brisket for friends and I recently, and that was pretty awesome. And
that's some commitment right there.
Yeah, that was pretty sick. It was like a 20-hour cook, believe it or not.
Yeah.
And then in big contrast to that, I've been trying to eat a lot more vegetables lately. Yeah. So I've just been eating like lots of roasted broccoli, roasted carrots, beets, all that kind of stuff. And eating tons of tomatoes just because they're in season right now. So
yeah, I've been like, it took me till being like 23 to recently discover like how much I fuck with bell peppers, and I've just been buying all the different colors every time I go to
What's your favorite
Trader
color?
Joe's. I don't know, I like somewhere in the middle, so I think I like the orange the most, honestly.
Yeah, I like the orange. They have the most flavor. They don't have that bitter.
Yeah, it's just like, it just is a testament to how like unhealthy I was in my college days and shit. Like I just eat frozen meals and fucking top ramen, like all the cliche bullshit that you hear about people going to college,
Absolutely.
Is it pretty nice over there, like where you live in Canada, like because you said you go outdoors a lot and stuff?
Yeah, well, actually, because of the pandemic, I moved back in with my parents. So I'm in my old kind of suburban neighborhood, and there's a huge ravine that I could kind of walk in for hours if I wanted to. It's like gigantic. And that's like the best part ever. It almost makes me not want to leave again just because it's so freaking tight. Having that, it honestly gives me so much bliss, and like on the days that I don't go out as much for whatever reason, it definitely impacts my mood and just overall productivity.
For sure. Yeah. Sometimes I go outside in LA and I'm like, this shit's more stressful out here. I don't even know if like this is gonna work. I have to drive to like the park or whatever, So you walk right out, there's some guy like yelling, and you almost get hit by a car or something. You're just like, all right.
Absolutely. Yeah, I was living like near Parkdale downtown. I guess you wouldn't know. But it's like all cement as far as you could see. And I just remember looking out my window in the wintertime, and it was like black and white, just cement and snow is all you can see. So that makes me not really miss it as much. Just like living like an old grandpa out here, taking long walks every day, cooking nice dinners, enjoying myself.
That's good. I see you got the childhood Space Jam poster back there too.
Yeah, I got that at the thrift probably when I was like 12, and it's perfect condition. It has a 1996 trademark, I think.
That's sick.
So
that's a come
I couldn't be more hyped on it.
Yeah, you could rip someone off with that nowadays. People will be paying so much for that.
I might have to hit up your buddy Ricky.
yeah, he'll like that. This will always come up to me with shit like, "Yo, I found this at the Goodwill bins. Check this out." It's like some crazy 90s jacket. Like I feel like, man, like I don't know what happened, but we really like started to lose the flavor in a lot of the clothing and stuff they're printing out at like the mainstream level now. Old shit just looked wild and so much more fun.
Absolutely. Like, look at that colorful banger you're wearing. It's just out of this world. You just don't see stuff like that anymore. And
you got that. What are you wearing?
So this is
animal
like
shirt?
Yeah, it's my Dolphin John. This is the kind of stuff you find in Canada. That's about it. There's no limited selection at the bins. So it's all basically nature tees. I got a dog. I got a bear. Wolves. The mandatory wolves.
It fits your vibe, though, I feel like.
Yeah, I love it.
Do you where do you live in relation to like some like what's like the big city in Canada near you?
I'm in Toronto.
Oh, Toronto. Oh yeah, that's like the biggest you can get pretty much out there.
Yeah,
right?
It's like the number one city anyone knows. So I'm actually like a little outside Toronto, but people from here still like to say they're from Toronto. Yeah, so
that's like LA too. Like I used to live out like 30 minutes from here, like not proper LA. And when I went to school in Northern California, you have to go through the list. They're like, where are you from? I'm like, oh, Covina. And they're like, what? I'm like, oh, Pomona. And they're like, what is that? And I'm just LA, like you have to get closer and closer.
I'm from LA.
Yeah. It's Toronto. You actually must know what I was talking about with the LA shit then, because I've been looking at Toronto stuff like every once in a while. They're one of the places like LA where like the prices of everything's insane, like the houses and shit and the apartments.
Yeah, it's crazy. I had a really good place, and then had to move out for the pandemic, and don't think I'll be moving out anytime soon because the housing market is just absolutely insane here, and like people like tenants or landlords have just kind of upped their expectations in terms of rent, and I don't think it's being met a lot of the time, so I have no idea. I'm no real estate agent or anything, but
I thought that's what you did on the side, bro. You don't do that?
Yeah, I was trying to keep that low key, man. I don't know.
I'll edit it out.
Okay, sweet.
What one thing I wanted to ask you, because I was kind of doing a deeper dive on some of your older stuff, because I think I've been following you for a little bit, but I don't think I've been following you quite until like it's been more where you're not doing like the background is more what I'm familiar with you. What kind of made you want to switch it up from, because some of your old ones, they're all on the white with that similar typeface and everything.
Yeah, so honestly, during the dailies, at some point, I was just pushing myself so hard that I kind of took the easy route in some regard at the end. I wasn't mixing it up as much as I would have liked to. I just pushed myself a bit too hard, but still wanted to finish up. Yeah. But then as I stopped doing the dailies, it just kind of gave me more time to gain some more perspectives. And I kind of think, at least to me, that the black outline looks like a dude sharing art, whereas me just put in without the black outline looks like me.
Yeah, I can see that.
You know what I mean? I wish I could articulate it a bit better.
All the reshare pages do that, and I also think that a lot of those reshare pages too, they only like choose the shit that looks like one person did it. Like it's all the same kind of look, so it's it might as well just be one person at that point,
Exactly. I know what you mean.
Yeah, the black background, I think it's like kind of been one of the newer like graphic design like meme type things. Like I feel like I see a lot more people come away from it. But for a while, like I remember when I was in college, it was like, oh, if you're a designer, like you put your shit on the poster on the black background, like no matter what it is, you put it on the black background.
Now everyone's using portrait, but before it's all square black background. It was all for the feed. Yeah, now I couldn't care less what my feed looks like. I just want to put out dope shit whenever I want to.
I remember I was so nervous to like, because I used to fall into that habit of like, I want my shit to be like, like all one thing and like all three colors look the same or black background, whatever. And like once I stopped that and just started posting something as the individual thing, like this is its own thing, this is how you consume it and it's not a part of everything else, I was like worried, like hopefully, my feed or whatever doesn't look bad. And then you realize like, it does just as well, and no one really cares like about the feed or whatever. Like no one's looking at your thing that often. Like let's see how this works together or whatever.
And I'm one dude. I don't need to spread myself so thin. Like, I don't have a social media planner. I make the art that I kind of want to make when I do. I'm not sort of planning it out strategically to make it look good. I just want to do what I do. And I always put a few colors in the designs I do. I put the coolest one at the front, and if it looks good in the feed or not, I posted it.
Yeah, I've seen, like, do you I guess since you're not doing like dailies anymore, and I feel like I respect all the people that did that, because I was never down. I was like, fuck that. That is so much work. But now that you're kind of doing things at a different pace, are you kind of just creating stuff when you want, and then that day you'll just throw it up pretty much online?
For the most part, I'll do like 90% of a poster one day. And then whenever I'm like, I feel like finishing it up, I'll usually finish it up that morning and post it like that afternoon. And that works pretty well for me. But there's a lot of the time that I'll just be working on a poster, and I'll just put it out as soon as I finish it. Yeah. And honestly, I think not that those are even my best stuff, but since may sound cliche, but since like my energy's going right into that and right out there, I think it's received a lot better when it's just kind of spur of the moment. Let me do it, not think about anything, write the caption in the Instagram caption maker and fire it off. I think I could see that, because some of my best like spur of the moment, you know, things I put online or post, like they just got typos and shit, and like I'm not really even writing the caption in my notes. I'm just like, hopefully people like this, and just send it out. And half that shit does better than like the stuff that you kind of, you know, like grind over and like are like making sure every little thing is perfect. Because I don't know, the best thing I've ever done to like ease my stress of like using the internet is stop being so precious with everything. Like, this isn't a client project, you know, like you could just it doesn't even have to be done. No one knows what's done except you. Just put it on the internet, you know? Doesn't really matter. Absolutely. I feel the same way.
What kind of stuff do you work on? Like, you work on client projects kind of in this style or anything like that?
Most of my client projects, I don't end up really doing in the style I do. Yeah. And I haven't been working with as many clients, at least for the past few months, just because I've been grinding on my website so hard. Working with a friend who's a computer developer, but as well as doing most of the design development myself. It's just been a huge sort of labor of love. Yeah. And now I'm just sort of putting the icing on the cake, and it's been really cool. But yeah, my client work hasn't been that frequent. But it's
what kind of stuff have you done in the past? Like, if it's not like this, you just do like other design stuff. Like, they're not really looking for this specific vibe exactly.
Yeah, like the first thing that comes to mind was a project I did with Saucony. They had a collab all around astrology.
Oh, that's dope.
Yeah, and they dropped it, and it was a really tight collection. So for each poster, I kind of gave it its own kind of aura to the shoe, and had all these kind of big glowy gradients. And like the type wasn't necessarily stuff I'd usually play around with, but it's all kind of fundamentals that I have learned through the process. Right. And something I could definitely work on is building out my portfolio to show people that I could do more just than with the stuff I put on my page.
Yeah, it's like I feel like there's like two sides of the coin to like people that have such a specific style on the internet. Like, sometimes it's like the holy grail. Like, people are just like, we want this, like, just make us this specific style, this poster. And then other times it's like, they don't even want anything to do with that look. And it's like, sometimes I think like, why are they even contacting that person then if they just want something generic, you know? It's kind of weird.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I'm really grateful for everybody that reaches out to me, but I really love when people sort of have an understanding of what I like to do and kind of are aligned with that, because it's just more fun for me and ultimately gets whoever's on the other end a better quality product.
For sure. It's crazy too, like all the people I know, like just on the internet, maybe they have a specific style, like you, for example, and like sometimes they'll have this style that you think that's all they do. And then I've looked at some of their portfolios and like they're working on crazy branding projects and shit too. Like that's just one little thing that they're doing. And that's just like, I feel like sometimes as designers or like just freelancers or any type of like artist that is kind of an individual online, you forget that like this one social media isn't everything, you know, there's all this other shit that's going on kind of behind the scenes and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's something we all kind of do is quickly judge people when we see them online, but there's so much going on behind the screens, and just try not to take any of it too seriously, whether it's my own or other people's online presence.
Yeah. When are you gotta make some shirts, man? When are more shirts coming?
Yeah, I've only dropped the collabs so far.
I saw that,
But once again, just waiting on the website, putting in the final touches, but we figured out screen printers, packaging, all kinds of stuff like that. Incorporated, got nice quick point of sale on the website. So it's gonna be awesome.
So you're planning on having that too, along with the prints?
Yeah. So I'm likely going to do shirts and prints of the same design released on like a bi-weekly or monthly basis.
Yeah, I could just already I could imagine some of your shit like just big with the puffy print and stuff, you know, like just huge.
Yeah, I love those massive prints. And you were saying, the 90s, 80s prints are the hardest, and that's what I want to do. Once again,
your style kind of reminds me of like it could work like with shit that like online ceramics does, you know. That's kind of the vibe it gives me, and that's how your website is kind of becoming. It sounds like too, right?
Yeah, it's kind of like that. Honestly, they're one of my favorite brands, so I'd be lying if I said they didn't inspire the hell out of me. Yeah, especially like their relationship with Dead & Co. It's just so freaking dope, and I love everything they've done. Like the A24 pictures stuff, like they just like cool stuff, and like seems to me like they're just doing stuff they think is dope, and I think it really just speaks like straight from the artist. So
their shit's like it's really like hard for them to miss. It seems like you have stuff all the way from like the tie-dye, like Dead & Company stuff, and then like, you know, some hereditary A24 shit. Like it's on the opposite side of the spectrum, but it's also like just dope at the same time. Like they really kill it for sure over there.
Absolutely. They're the freaking tightest.
I wanted to ask you, because obviously we talked about, well, you just said you're inspired by online ceramics, but I think you probably inspire a lot of people. We've talked about with kind of the energy you put out and the messages and talking with people about your journey. Who are some of the people that inspire you or have inspired you over the past few years?
There's tons of people online that have inspired me. One of my favorite graphic designers, I gotta shout the homie out, is Doron Studios. I'm not sure if you know him and his page, but he's a wizard with it. I absolutely love his stuff.
His shit's insane.
I love Jay Crumb as a guy. I loved just hearing him on your podcast, actually.
Thank you.
As well as his work. He just seems so transparent, like who he is just shining right through his work, and I love that about him. Like some of the stylistic people I look up to a lot, Steffi Lorette. She just has the most amazing visuals, and I love those sort of old diagram things. She's
responsible for like 80% of the Instagram posts online.
She started like more trends than we could name, definitely. And then quite honestly, my biggest like inspirations come from like Pinterest, or a lot of the time Grailed. I'll just look up like single stitch tee or 90s tee and old just kind of look at the fonts, look at the composition, the colors, and kind of play around with that and bring my own imagery. And
then look at the price and you're like, I don't know about that.
Like, I cannot spend my money on that. Yeah, I haven't gotten clothes that weren't from Value Village in probably like 4 years.
Yeah. Like that's a good reference though. I feel like just vintage clothing. We talked about quite a bit in Grailed. I don't know if anyone doesn't know about that. It's just like a resale streetwear vintage like site, and you could find some crazy shit on there to look at in terms of old like sports tees and just animal prints and whatnot. And I could kind of see like a lot of your designs kind of read as like an old like shirt design where you have the top kind of text and the bottom text and the graphic like ensemble in the middle kind of blending in between it all.
That's exactly it. Yeah, I'm just trying to hit those vibes, and like as I just said, like I haven't shopped at anywhere but Value Village and like Goodwill in years, just because I freaking love the tees. And if I could deliver those same vibes, like I want to be happy as a consumer of the stuff I put out. So if it makes me happy, then hopefully I could do the same for other people. Especially in regards to spreading that positive message. Like if it looks dope enough and looks like something someone would get at the thrift, then hopefully they vibe with the positive message too. And
for
that
sure.
kind of stylistic.
Sorry,
I hope
go
just
ahead.
like, no worries. Sorry, I know I ramble a bit.
No, you're good. You're good.
I hope like the dope graphics can kind of lead people who aren't necessarily into self-care, self-help, or positivity into that. And if it's cool enough and looks dope enough and the website is cool enough, then it could help people no matter where they are to kind of find these dope messages and make it cool. It sounds so corny, but I can't help but say, like, it's just, I want to make kindness cool. Like self-love, kindness, all that shit. So
I think you're doing a pretty good job, man. Like, you seem like a very authentic person. Like how I view you online, talking to you now, it all adds up, you know, consistent with everything. And it's really like, corny or not, like things are cliche because they're usually like true, you know. It's just shitty people that kind of ruin it and stuff for everyone else. Like it's pretty hard to hate on being like, love yourself or be nice to people. It's like, and the fact that you said you get to put the designs into something that's like digestible is really cool, because a lot of these messages, you know, you read this kind of stuff in like boring old textbooks that a lot of people don't have, like, you know, the bandwidth or concentration to be looking at all the time. So to blend it with like pretty pictures, it's a win-win, I think.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And I love just kind of taking these big concepts, so to speak, and kind of just making them as easy to digest as possible. It's dope for me, like, to remember if I am having a bad day, or to say as an affirmation, and hopefully it could do the same for others. Yeah,
I feel like I'd be like, I feel like I need to ask you a little bit about this, because I noticed the trend in when I did the Q&A thing of people asking a lot about like spirituality and things like that. And I was curious where along the lines of like you doing Instagram and then like your spiritual journey, like obviously we talked about where you get design inspiration and stuff, but what are some of your like inspirations for spirituality or like finding positive messages and things like that?
I'm a huge fan of Ram Dass's work. And I'm listening to his lectures pretty much every single day. And quite honestly, it's a lot of like random blogs or even other people on Instagram just sharing their sort of light. A lot of my spirituality has just kind of come from this self-care journey in terms of meditating and journaling every single day. I've had some extremely spiritual experiences in meditation, and it has really just made me feel more connected to myself, those around me, and nature. And it's just been really, really beautiful.
Hell yeah. Yeah, because I'm always curious, just the term like spirituality in general and all that stuff, like it's such a weird, like, I guess ambiguous and like jargon type word, because like, you know, some people, when you say that, they may think, meditating and like Ram Dass and all this, and other people may think like religion, and other people may think like hallucinogenics or whatever, like there's so many different pockets of this whole, like, that's just like such a small word for such a big concept, I feel like.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is kind of weird because like I don't have the words to describe like my sort of spirituality or whatever that means. Bet. But I do know that I've had some psychedelic experiences. Yeah. And then I've had some meditation experiences that were more psychedelic than the psychedelic experiences. So
I've heard that's crazy.
I stick by it, and it's really been such a beautiful process. And like, there's days that I'll walk my dog in the forest right after I finish meditating, and like it sounds so obscure, but I'll like see smiles or the perfect outline of a smile just in trees in the forest. Yeah. And it feels like everything gets connected, at least for me, when I meditate.
That's dope. Yeah, I think we can all use a little bit more a little less screen time and a little more meditating and spirituality and stuff. And I think what you're doing is great because it's like we were talking about, making it a little more accessible and not so like that stuff could be like a little bit I guess intimidating at times, when you're looking at it from not knowing anything about it at all.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I don't know all that much about it. I haven't read a whole lot on it. I'm just kind of doing what I can with what I got now, and I think I'm just really in a great place to sort of, as I said, like meet people where they're at. And yeah, it's just been really cool because I try to sort of be almost conversational in my posters, or at least in my captions. And it really has just helped me, gain a closer connection to others and myself, and be more understanding of everybody and where they're coming from.
Yeah, for sure. Do you have anything else kind of planned upcoming for anything you're doing online or anything besides the website launch and stuff?
Pretty much just the website launch, and always working on more collabs and drops with my homie Sister Cody. He's the guy I've done all the shirts with. We've become friends. We talk all the time. And yeah, that's pretty much about it. Just gearing up to get the website out, and I'm really excited to show people. I'll send you the beta link after we're done talking, and you can check it out. I'd love to hear your thoughts.
That'd be cool. Yeah, man. Other than that, I really appreciate you coming on and chatting with me. If you guys want to hear a little bit more, we're going to do the Q&A on Patreon, a little bit more questions about design and spirituality and things like that. But other than that, appreciate you coming on. It was great chatting with you, man.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's been a great conversation. I was a little nervous, but my nerves have cooled throughout the conversation, and it was just a great time. So thanks to everyone listening, and sending my love your way.
Hell yeah. Thank you, everyone. And we'll see you over at the Patreon if you check that out. And other than that, you can check out Eli at ToastedbyEli on Instagram. A lot of cool shit. And we'll see you next time. Peace out.